Hi, Susie with Simply Creative Pages here. I don't know if you're like me at all and you fall in love with these little 6x6 paper packs and then you buy them and then they sit in a basket because you don't know what to do with them. And the pages are usually too busy, but look how pretty it is. I couldn't resist it. So I decided I wanted to try and turn this paper pack into something rather than having it just sit on a shelf. So I found this old scrapbooking template, old Creative Memories scrapbooking template that shows you how to use these elements and turn it into something. And we're gonna turn this into this using all these little pages. So I selected 6 different pages, 5 different pages, 6 different pages, that's right. 6 different pages that I thought blended well enough together that weren't so distracting, and I tried to pick some that were a little more neutral, like this bright pink and this green were a little more solid-like, and so I felt like those were a little more neutral. And then I used a big craft sheet and a white sheet of paper, and then I even took some ink and kind of spritzed it using my brush to give it kind of some splotches to match the green on here. So here we go. I'm going to show you how I did this. So I'm going to start with my big circle here, and it says to cut an 8 5/8 inch circle. Well, the jumbo circle from the custom cutting system was pretty close to that. It was maybe a little bit shy, and I wanted to do this in the craft color. So I'm going to take my red blade, and I'm going to go on the inside of the cutting system, but we're going to use some of this other paper. I want to I want to utilize as much of my paper as I can. So I'm going to scoot this down real close to the corner here, because you can see I still have a little bit of a gap there, probably about 1/4 of an inch there between the blade and the little feet. So I can come down pretty far, even overlap the edge just a little bit. I'm going to lock it in my channel. The little pegs go in the channel, and then I'm going to hold down and go around. Oh, and see, I've screwed up already. How about that? Well, we're going to move to the other side. If you don't get both of the feet in the channel, then it rips your paper. So you want to make sure you get that locked down. There we go. And I hold down the circle as I go because I don't want it to move and get a jagged edge. And then I kind of wiggle it a little bit to make sure it'll come out clean. And this will get hidden by the photos. Ta-da! And see how I used most of my paper? I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to get out my paper trimmer, and we're going to cut 4 3/4 inch strips from the part that we didn't touch. So 12 by 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to line that right up there. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. And there's 4. I'm going to cut down my white cardstock to 11.5 by 11.5 because I want the other 1/2 inch to be this brown craft color on the outside. So, whoop, I put up my arm. You know what I really like about this that a lot of the other trimmers don't have is that it's got a little foot that folds out. So now it doesn't bounce around. It's solid. Well, it doesn't bounce around if I had, I can have this underneath there. It keeps that nice and sturdy. So we're gonna cut this to 11.5. Get that lined up there on the left. And we'll keep this because we might use that somewhere else. By 11.5. inch So now that's no longer 12 inches, and I'm gonna make up the difference with these squares. And you can do one of two things. You can just line it up, and we're gonna flip it over here at the end, but I'm gonna line it up first. Line it up, line it up. Line it up. And line it up. If you don't like the way it looks, like this with the overlap, you know, the log cabin look, you can miter your corners. That one's not a very good example. You can miter your corners there by doing this. Make a perfect little L shape. Make sure you get it lined up good, or you end up with a wonky corner like what I had. And just take your scissors and corner to corner. Disregard those two little triangles. And look at that, mitered corner, the first one. And then I'm going to use my repositionable tape so that if I screw this up, I can pull it back up real easy. I'm just gonna go along each edge. And I'm gonna make sure that the craft paper is perfectly lined up. And then reposition my white if I need to. See, like the white was off, so, but I know that the craft paper is perfectly on the measurements. And I'm just gonna rotate this. I think that's just gonna be easier. Line my miter up nicely. There we go. That fits good. And I don't know how to speed up video yet, so to make this shorter, I'm so sorry. I am still learning this whole process of being a video maker. I've been doing scrapbooking for about 35 years. Well, no, gosh, 45 years. I started when I was 18, and I'm significantly older than 18 now. When I first got engaged to my now ex-husband, what did I do here? I screwed up that corner. Well, you'll get the idea. You'll get the idea of what not to do. Anyway, when I first got engaged, I started scrapbooking even then. I took all of the love notes that I had gotten, and we had a candle lighting at the college I went to announce our engagement, and so I took all of those papers, and I, didn't know anything about preserving memories then, so I took just regular copier paper, typewriter paper it was called back then, and burned the edges of some handwritten notes and put some pictures and some cards in there, and that was my first scrapbook. All right, pretend like that corner's correct. I'll fix that later. Okay, I got that fixed as best as I can. So now we're going to take our circle, and if we look here at our template, our circle's pretty much in the middle, so I'm going to just adhere this down. I kind of marked a center point here. I found the center of my circle, and I want that center to be right on the 6-inch mark here. So let me find 6 inches and move my dot. Okay, that's going to be pretty much centered that way. How's it looking this way? Okay, that's pretty good. All right. So I just want a little bit of sticky in the middle because we're going to tuck things around on that circle. Next, I took, again, I chose 6 different papers that I thought coordinated well. And I'm treating these two kind of like solids because they're not super busy like some of these other ones. And then I wanted a brown to kind of ground it a little bit instead of it just being pink and green. I wanted some brown mixed in there. And then I took the old-fashioned, who has these old, this is so dusty, these old circle punches, the 1.5 inch. Mine is so old that it sticks. So I'm gonna punch out, for two-page layout, you wanna cut 4 of these. I already did my first page, so I'm gonna cut 2 more of each color. And the best way to do that is to line it up on the back side. See where you want it cut, and then punch and turn it over so that your circle falls out on the other side. And I want 2 of those. So we'll come over here. There's 2 of that one. I'll bet you I'm not gonna have enough of that one. One of the green. Not enough now. I'm going to need a second page of that. But in these books, they always give you at least 2, if not 4, of each color. So see, I've got plenty of those. Pull out the green and the rose. So I know I'm going to need more of those. And that pretty pink pattern. All right, so we left off on our green. So we're gonna punch a second circle of those. Oh, there we go. Set that aside. Might as well use up as much of these as I can, right? I'm not a big keeper of scraps, but I try to get what I can out of each piece first. Like, I'm not gonna keep that. I have better things to do than keep little tiny pieces like that. Bravo to those of you that can do that, and maybe in the future I'll make a video of scraps. But for now, no. This one, I like to get the rose in the center, so. That was a really pretty rose. Got 2 of those. No, don't you fall out. It helps if you pinch your page ever so slightly when you're stamping. So when you're getting it lined up on this side to see where you want it, and I want to utilize as much as I can there, so that I push it just a little bit to kind of hold it. See how that kind of holds it? Then flip it over and punch. Yeah, there we go. Now we're sticking. There we go. All right, one more color, and we're done with our circles. Then we're gonna do the fun part. I don't throw these away yet. We're gonna use some of them to matter pictures. All right, I don't know if it's the punch or my muscles. That one didn't want to go. There we go. Yeah, we're sticking. Okay, we'll set that aside and I'll see if I can get that to work a little bit better later. If we look at our template, they showed the dark, 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 a lighter gray, lighter gray, lighter gray, lighter gray, and then super light gray, super light gray. So you could just do 3 colors. I wanted to utilize as much of this pretty paper as I could. And here's where I got a little bit finicky. I wanted to make sure that my circles were exactly the same, sticking out all the way around. So I measured each of these at 1 inch in. So I lined up the bottom of the circle at 1 inch. And I took a pencil and I just drew a real faint line across there. So I knew that's how far I wanted that to stick in. And I just did that on all of these. That was a darker line than I wanted it to be, but that's all right. I'll flip that around because I want the rose to show. Remember, anything on this side of this line is going to be underneath the circle. What is everybody else working on this weekend? I've got a crop in my home. I've got some ladies coming over to scrapbook on Saturday. I'm going to work on some of my personal pictures. And here, I wanted my stripes to go up and down out of the circle, so I make sure that I have both of my circles going the same way. All right, now the fun part, stick them down. Again, I'm going to use repositionable. Oh, you know what? Let's divide them up because I know one's going to go on each side. There we go. There we go. And there we go. All right. Determine which one you want to be your center start. I really liked the stripe to be in the middle. So I'm just going to lift that up and insert that pencil line all the way up to, and I wanted this to be at my 6. So, whoops, there we go. Next I'll do my pink. I'll do this pretty wallpaper pattern. I don't know what to call that. My whole thing is I love to make beautiful pages, but I also want them to be easy. Let's go the other way. Let's put my rose over on this side. They should be simple but beautiful. There are people that can devote more time to their pages and they make beautiful pages, but for me, that's just not who I am. I don't have hours and hours and hours to build these gorgeous pages. Like when I go to a crop, I like to get 25, 30 pages done. Because I take way too many pictures of my family. All right, that side's done. I'm just going to flip this whole thing because it's just easier. I'm going to do the same thing. Making sure I'm lining up at my 6. There we go. And then I want it to mirror across, so I want to make sure that my pink is diagonal from my pink. You do what you like to do. If you want it to be all hodgepodge and mismatched, then you do you with pride. All right, that one I made that pencil line too heavy. And you can go in and erase the pencil lines if you want. I don't think it's going to be showing. I'm going to pull this up here and tape it down a little bit better when we're done. So I really don't think you're going to see any of those pencil lines. All right, get my pretty rose paper in. I had a girl, and she had 2 little boys, and she's not very girly, and of course they're definitely not very girly. So I have all this beautiful pink paper that, you know, I don't know what to do with. So I've been putting pictures that I like. I made some the other day that were of my garden. I've been trying my hand at gardening. And it was beautiful with some of the floral feminine paper I had chosen. See, I'm just cheating and lifting up the edge and gluing down what I can pull up, and I'm not going crazy with it. Because when it's all said and done, it's going to have a page protector over it anyway. And yep, we're going to cover that. All right, that's where we're at so far. So then our template shows 3.5 by 5.5 photos. I'm probably going to end up doing 3 by 5 photos because I ended up double matting. And I'll show you what I mean. I took these pieces here and I cut them and used these extra pieces. So I made these. Let me double check to make sure that's what I did here. I made these 4 by 6, and then I wanted a white mat on the inside, and I made that 3.5 by 5.5. So then I'm going to inset my photo to be on the inside of yet that. So I used the other 3 papers here, so I'm going to use the other 3 on this one, so that way on a double page layout I've covered all 6 of my pages with my mats. Pull out the paper trimmer. I think I said I was going to do these 4 by 6. And these are 6-inch books, so I know these are already 6 inches. So I really just need to trim to 4. But I think I screwed up when I cut that way. Yes, I did. I shouldn't have put that circle there, darn it. Well, let's cut it there and see if we can't. No, that's going to show and look silly. Well, maybe this one will be a 4 by 4 photo. Well, you know what, we'll just pivot. We'll use the same ones I used on the other one, because those I only cut 1 circle out of. So I'm just going to cut to 4, and we know it's 6 inches, so we're good. Cut to 4, and cut to 4. So we're going to cut these to 3.5 by 5.5. So I'm just going to make one big cut at 5.5. I do make an exception for scraps with white and black because I tend to use even small pieces of that. I also make cards, and when you stamp on a little strip of white paper, these little scraps come in handy, like little sentiments that you put on a card. Excuse me. So I will keep something like that. That'll actually make a couple of sentiments. Get that out of the way. See how pretty that just makes that colored paper pop with the white. And then my pictures are going to really stand out because they're going to have white as the background between them and that colored paper. You guys have a pattern when you use a tape runner? I always do 2, 2, and 1 in the middle. I was watching one lady do videos. She always made a little heart shape with her glue. It was really cute. But now I can't do that because that's her signature move. And these I'm just kind of eyeballing. They don't have to be very exact, wherever you feel comfortable placing them. I know I wanted the green to be a little off center. And of course with that repositionable, that'll pull right up for me to be able to put my pictures down so easily. All right, and then, as I told you, the painted garden embellishments, which are no longer available, went perfect with this. They had pretty little sunflowers and bees, and so I couldn't resist. I had to use those. And of course, if you've watched anything that I've put out, you know that I like dimensional foam squares more than any person has a right to. So of course I'm gonna pop those up. I think I'm gonna end up doing, all right, so we're gonna put our hummingbird up here, and I'm gonna put these flowers down here. I think I'm gonna glue the first flower down here in the corner. If we look at it shows flowers, but of course you don't have to use flowers. They just mean an embellishment. So they have theirs down in the corner, just kind of between those two, but I kind of like it off to the side a little bit more. And then this one I'm gonna pop up. And I love these Creative Memories foam squares because they have different sizes, but they're the same width. So even though that one's smaller, so I can fit it at the top of the coneflower there, and then I can put a medium one down here. But see, they're all the same width. That fits on there very nicely. And I learned a little trick. If you struggle getting those tape off of the back of things, if you use a pokey tool and stab it into your foam, pops it right off. All right, so this one we're just gonna kind of set here, and then we're gonna double up the bumblebee. Yes, we're gonna double pop him up, because one was just not enough. Kind of let him look like he's going over to get some pollen. All right, my little hummingbird. I don't know if he needs more than one. We'll put a little one by his head. Little bitty one. Let's stab and pop it up. I don't know about you, but as an older lady, I struggle with my nails breaking all the time, so that just makes that a little bit easier. He's just gonna hover over the pictures over here. How about that? Done. What do you think? Now the painted garden came with these beautiful gems as well, so I just added a couple little gems. And then I've got a little punch from another company that is a little sunflower shape. Then I'm probably gonna just punch a little one and just kind of lay it underneath there. So that's why we save that craft paper. Punch a couple of those. There we go. I just want more, just some color behind that. Not that it looks like a sunflower, just more a little something back there. And same with this guy. Just kind of tuck that in there. Just gives a little bit more dimension. If you wanted to, you could ink that up a little bit. Like I said, I took some ink on one of our brushes. Just kind of flicked it around. Just gave it a little bit of a grungy look. But there you have it. Easy to make. These templates really do come in handy if you just are struggling with what to do. It's a great way to use up these little 6x6 paper packs that we all seem to fall in love with and then we don't know what to do with. My name is Susie. I'm an independent creative memories consultant. If you do not have a consultant, I would love it if you shopped with me. And if you like what you see, hit like and subscribe for more information in the future. Appreciate you stopping by. Thanks.